everyone. I'm Dana Perino along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Juan Williams, Jesse Waters, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. This is a Fox News alert. A battle on trade playing out north of the border. We're awaiting President Trump's bilateral meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at the G7 summit. The two have been going back and forth over tariffs and on Twitter. We're also expecting the president to sit down with French counterpart Emmanuel Macron, and we're going to bring you that as soon as it happens. In the meantime, President Trump is causing controversy by calling on Russia to be reinstated into the G7. You may recall Russia was ousted after its annexation of Crimea in 2014.
Why are we having a meeting without Russia being in the meeting? And I would recommend, and it's up to them, but Russia should be in the meeting. It should be a part of it. And in the G7, which used to be the G8, they threw Russia out. They should let Russia come back in, because we should have Russia at the negotiating table.
We're also learning today that President Trump will be leaving the G7 a little bit early to head to Singapore to meet with Kim Jong-un ahead of this nuclear summit. Trump is brushing aside criticism for saying attitude is more important than preparation.
I've been preparing all my life. You know, these 1 week preparations, they don't work. Just ask Hillary what happened to her in the debates. So I've been preparing for this all my life. And frankly, it's really just the fake news, because if you run, Peter, just a little bit longer the clip, you would see I've really been preparing all my life. I said that, but the news doesn't pick that up because it's fake news.
Fake news. He was calling him out right there by name, Greg. What do you want to talk about? Trade or the summit or Russia or what?
Let me just say that about Russia, that's his opinion, and we have to understand he will express his opinion. He also said something about this summit. He says, as soon as we finish the trade negotiations, we're all going to be in love again. And so who says this? It's the most transparent administration ever. He tells you how things work because he hides nothing, and that keeps everybody in a weird way off balance because they're not used to him speaking his mind. People should not be worrying about this controversy or that Canada's upset or Europe's upset. They're always upset at our actions. They love a good, obedient liberal who strives to be European. That's why they liked President Obama, because President Obama wants that smaller footprint that Europe had. They hated Bush. They hated Reagan, so they're supposed to hate Trump. That's the way it is. And for our press, it's interchangeable with Europe. They basically write for Europe. So that's why this is being presented this way. The fact is, this is completely normal.
I read someone today had a good I thought maybe a good point. I don't know how true it is, but it was an American who was saying that the Europeans are not used to the insults and that they take it quite personally and that they don't understand that maybe it's just a part of the rhetoric and rolling with the punches.
Can I respond? Yeah. Have you seen the cover of Der Spiegel?
No.
Every time that they have Trump on the cover, he's Satan, he's a monster. So that's garbage. Sorry. Continue.
Dennis Miller had a great line. He said, finally, Trump is treating the French like the French treat everybody else. Rudely.
You like that one,
And I really did like that line. And, hat tip to Dennis Miller on that. The G7 thing, formerly the G8, I mean, he doesn't sound like he's guilty of collusion here. Because if he was guilty of collusion or had something to hide, he wouldn't be so outwardly saying, hey, bring Russia back in. He obviously does not care and does not feel guilty about anything that happened during the campaign because it didn't happen in my estimation. The trade deal situation, this is all bluffs. I mean, they're slapping tariffs on dairy, sausage, linens.
Oh, you know what?
The EU.
Hold on. President Trump is with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Let's listen.
A broad range of issues. Obviously, trade has been a topic of discussion and will continue to be, but our engagement towards the world, how we're working together to create good jobs for folks on both sides of the border and around. We both got elected on a commitment to grow the middle class and help those working hard to join it, and that's exactly the kinds of things that we're going to stay focused on, and it's a pleasure to have you here, Donald.
Well, Justin, it's been really great, and I appreciate, Justin has agreed to cut all tariffs and all trade barriers between Canada and the United States. So I'm very happy
so
about
I'd say
that.
NAFTA's in good shape.
But we are actually working on it. But our relationship is very good. We are actually working on cutting tariffs and making it all very fair for both countries. And we've made a lot of progress today. We'll see how it all works out, but we've made a lot of progress. It could be that NAFTA will be a different form. It could be with Canada, with Mexico, one-on-one, much simpler agreement, much easier to do, I think better for both countries, but we're talking about that among other things. But the relationship is probably better, as good or better than it's ever been. And I think we'll get to something very beneficial to Canada and to the United States.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Merci.
We didn't discuss it. We didn't cover it.
We'll see you guys. We'll see you
I think
guys
we'll have a
tomorrow.
joint session.
Merci tout le monde. Merci tout le monde.
And it looks like that might be all we have. So the president not taking any questions from the press, probably chomping at the bit too, but not going to do it. So it looks like, as Greg, you were sort of prophetic.
Yes.
Like they're going to have this Twitter fight, and then they're going to get there, and they're going to get along. If they're going to
They're in love with each other.
The one thing I would say, ask
like the Backstreet Boys, right? Trudeau, Macron, missing one other.
Yes.
Who are we missing?
Joke.
The successful one.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember.
I'm sorry, I was kind of missed that. I was going to Juan Williams. I was going to ask you, what might Russia have done to deserve to get back into the G7? That's the part I don't understand. Like their economy is not there. It's supposed to be about democracies. I mean, the UK, I would imagine, after the poisoning on its soil, it's probably like, I don't think that's such a good idea.
How about interfering in the U.S. election?
No, I mean, the president says it's up to them, like the Europeans, if they want the Russians back in. I would think
how
they would
about
say no.
taking Crimea, right?
Well, that was the reason they were kicked out in the first place.
That's why that's why it happened initially, Dana, and they still hold that land. In fact, they've made further acquisitions. So, I mean, it's like, I think it was Dick Durbin today said, President Trump beats up on our allies and grovels for our adversaries, right? So,
and yet then you see him with Trudeau, Kimberly, and he's not groveling or not. What did you say?
I said beats up our allies, yeah.
So it's not one or the other. It's just his way, and I think maybe people are just starting to get used to it.
I don't see anybody getting beat up or him not doing a good job or any unfairness there. It looks like they're all ready for their close-ups, especially Trudeau and Macron, right? So this is how he does business. He goes in, he's personable, he's able to sit down with you and change the dialogue, change the rules of the game. People are just not used to it. But guess what? It's producing different results that are fantastic for the United States, and he's able to work well with these other leaders.
We don't have the results yet, but we're hoping that they're going to be.
In terms of his administration and
I thought you meant on trade.
In his presidency, right? And so he had to do something different as it relates to China, and it relates to some of our other European and economic partners to say, listen, we're going to do something different. We're not going to play by the same rules the United States has always done, so we can produce a different outcome.
So
or better
what you get is a situation where, I mean, even conservatives are concerned about the potential for a trade war and the damage it would do to the economy. And on the larger scale, you get people like Macron of France saying, oh, the United States wants to go it alone. They want isolation, so we can be the G6 and we will strike deals. And remember, the U.S. really needs allies to take on China. So we are putting ourselves in, I guess, from the Trump position of America first.
Well, I do think that it was interesting, Greg, like farmers today that are concerned. Yes, they are concerned, but they have stayed with him and said, we are trusting you that you know what you're doing. We hope you can do it fast because we've got crops we need to put in the ground, but we are trusting you to get this done.
You know I'm an expert on farming. That's why you came to me. You're talking about the big picture, right? I am a free trader, so I have problems with tariffs, even though I look at this and I think there's some potential here. But I consider myself a free trader. However, I count the achievements. ISIS, North Korea, perhaps, economy, Paris Accords, Iran, Gorsuch. That's 6. Okay, 6 out of 7 or 8 major items. I can almost forgive this if it's not an actual full-on trade war because he got the 6 out of 7. And I think that's why farmers and others might be trusting him or grinning and bearing it. By the way, the EU does impose a 10% tariff on U.S. car imports. That's, I think, 4 times ours. Yep. The Europeans pay that. See, that's what happens. Your citizens pay the tariff. If they could just roll it back to 2.5, which is where we are, that's pretty good. Then everybody wins.
Well, that's the ultimate goal. It's a bunch of bluffing right now. When we slap tariffs on stuff, they have higher tariffs than we have on everything. Like you just said, cranberries, for instance. Cranberries. They have almost a 20% tariff on cranberries in the EU. So the cranberry farmers here in the United States, they it's not as competitive there in the European market.
They didn't even have
they're gonna get hammered.
cranberries 20 years ago.
Exactly. So we all want cranberry juice in the EU, and we want the EU customers to be able to buy that. If they can drop that down, that's going to be good for cranberry producers here in the United States, like Mama.
You know, I don't know. I don't even know what to say.
The heck?
You act like we're a bunch of kids, and we say, "Oh, well, you have 3 marbles, so I should have 3 marbles." Instead of thinking,
reciprocity and
wait a
tariffs
second, there was a World War I, a World War II. There was a U.S. effort to try to revive economies. There are deals that have been placed historically. And President Trump, what does he do? He says, "Oh, because of national security, I have to get out of these deals as a way to get around World Trade Organization rules." And he just insults people. I mean, Merkel says. Merkel says this is illegal. Trudeau says insulting, unacceptable. And you guys sit here. And the Russian thing, how can you guys close your eyes to getting Russia in this deal?
Juan, if the end result of this, Juan, is that the American customer is paying cheaper for their goods, and the American farmer and manufacturers are more competitive in the world stage, that is the end goal. So he's trying to help
that'd be wonderful.
Cranberries and linen.
Jesse, but the problem is that the White House Economic Council, even they have put out a report, although it's not quite out, but it's circulating in Washington, says this trade deal is going to hurt American employees, American workers, American jobs, American investment.
The council's always been terrified of trade wars because it's a bunch of Wall Street guys that care about the Dow Jones industrial
average. So we should just care about a big ego-driven president.
Tariffs, when used properly, can be effective, especially when the way tariffs began. They were actually they were the income tax. We didn't have an income tax. We were a tariff-based economy, and then what happened is we introduced a progressive income tax. And then we kind of pretty much stopped growing as fast as we did with tariffs. If we use tariffs correctly in a reciprocal manner, 2.5%, 2.5%, it works. The problem is when it's not balanced. Having said that, I'm a free trader, so I have to watch and see this. My favorite part, though, we haven't even talked about it, is Trump skipping the climate meeting, which is hilarious. I mean, he said, you know what, I don't think I have to meet with these sanctimonious Euro yahoos who are going to tell me about how important the carbon offset credits are. Trump knew that climate accord, the climate accord for Paris, was just going to put pressure on our economy, and it was a trap.
Plus, he has an 18-hour flight to Singapore.
Plus he has to not prep for the Singapore summit.
And also,
he's been prepping his whole life.
But he's making time Saturday morning for the women's empowerment meeting.
Yes.
Good.
Maybe Giuliani and Melania Trump can get together on Stormy Daniels there. Huh?
All right. You've heard of Negative Nellie? Well, meet Negative Nancy Pelosi, that is. She's downplaying the good economic news under President Trump. Her comments, a gift to the GOP. Next.
Just breathing, just trying to break even. Leroy Brown.
House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi catching heat for these comments about the economy under President Trump.
Hip hip hooray, unemployment is down. What does that mean to me in my life? I need a bigger paycheck. This isn't just about the unemployment rate. It's about wages rising in our country so that consumer confidence is restored.
Senator Bernie Sanders also lashing out against the president.
Trump campaigned, he said, you remember this, I will not cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. Believe me, I'm not Paul Ryan. That's what he said. His budget, $1 trillion cut in Medicaid proposal, $500 billion in Medicare, massive cuts in education, nutrition programs. He's going to war against working people.
So, Jesse, if new Fox News poll out shows President Trump, I think, at 44, which it might be at their highest. He's been in that poll. And the key driver for the president is handling of the economy. There you see it on the screen. I think it was 52%. So what do you make of the fact that leading Democrats, Pelosi, Sanders, others, are like, well, what about wages?
What about wages, Juan? I remember just the other day you said something about wages being flat under this president.
Yeah, I think it's 0.3%.
Nope, that would be 2.9%, close to 3%, and that is the fastest rise in wage growth since 2009.
What are you talking about?
And it's my pleasure to fact check you. Also, consumer confidence.
0.3 is the last thing I saw on wages.
I'm talking about 3%. Since he's been president, wages have been up close to 3%. And that's a fact. So Also, consumer confidence, it is an 18-year high. So I don't know what Pelosi's talking about. When you combine that with, oh, whoop-de-doo, the jobless numbers are down, and crumbs, and MS-13, they have a spark of dignity inside them. Those are just made-to-order Republican ads. Gutfeld was laughing in the break about it. I mean, she could not cut a better ad for the Republicans than she has so far. Nancy, we love you.
So, Kimberly,
Yes.
Bernie Sanders says this is a war on working people being waged by the president who wants to. He said he would never cut Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. But in fact, his budgets look intent on doing just that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think Bernie Sanders has been having too many cafeteria lunches with Nancy Pelosi because both of them seem to be getting kind of confused. But it's actually their comments are really only helping to motivate the president's base. And when you look at the numbers, I mean, it just flies in the face of their illogical comments and statements. When you see an economy that's booming like this, you see that women, minorities, blacks, all more engaged in the economy. You see the numbers in terms of jobs available, record low unemployment. This is something that America wanted. This is why he was elected. And you see here somebody like Nancy Pelosi seems completely out of touch, doesn't make any sense, one gaffe after the next. If that's the future, right, of the Democratic Party, they're in big trouble going into the midterm elections and going into 2020. That's the problem. When you look at this right now, people are saying, look, this is something that's sustainable in terms of economic growth. The Democrats are out of talking points, but they're not out of gaffes.
So, Dana, again, going back to the polling, what you see coming from Pelosi is an argument that when people don't have wages, they can't afford health care. They can't pay the high cost of prescription drugs. They can't pay for their kids to go to college. Are we seeing the evolution here of the Democrats' messaging for
I think that this is consistent across the board. It's not like she's making gaffes.
Right.
Okay, they are actually spending money on ads in their primaries that are saying the same thing. So something is telling them, either their polling or their focus groups are telling them that this message works for their particular voters. And one of the things about this that the Republicans just need to be a little bit concerned about is that the president's numbers are better, the generic ballot is better, but the Democrats are highly motivated to register new voters. I didn't know this until the other day. In the Virginia election for the gubernatorial race last November, more Republicans turned out to vote than in the history of the country in Virginia. And still Ed Gillespie lost by 9 points. One of the things that happened is 12% of the voters in that election had never voted in a gubernatorial election before. So the Democrats...
President Trump is floating the idea of more pardons. He's considering thousands of new cases and is calling on NFL players to weigh in.
We have 3,000 names. We're looking at them. I thought Kim Kardashian was great because she brought Alice to my attention. The power to pardon is a beautiful thing. You got to get it right. You got to get the right people. I am looking at Muhammad Ali. What I'm thinking to do, you have a lot of people in the NFL in particular, but in sports leagues, I am going to ask all of those people to recommend to me, because that's what they're protesting, people that they think were unfairly treated by the justice system.
White House advisor Kellyanne Conway is also making news. Watch what she tells Jesse about the president and the Philadelphia Eagles.
When the Philadelphia Eagles were first going to come, they requested policy time, and the president said, okay, let's have policy time. And the people, I think, who wanted it most weren't coming to the White House.
All right, I recognize that guy. Jesse, whoa, seen double.
Usually where people break news is they go to Watters World. That's where all the news making happens.
It's true.
On the weekends. That's right. We have the Party Bros also this Saturday at 8 o'clock. I think what the president's trying to do here is he's trying to create a narrative that the justice system is unfair to people and there can be overzealous prosecutions. I wonder what he could be thinking of in that case, and he's trying to establish the fact that you need to right the wrongs in the justice system when prosecutions go over the line.
Wait a second, you're supposed to play Jesse Watters.
There also could be real instances where people deserve a pardon. I don't see why Muhammad Ali, after all these years, wouldn't deserve a pardon. But
I can tell you why. You want me to tell you why?
You tell me why.
Because he wasn't convicted. I mean, the conviction was thrown out by the Supreme Court. He doesn't need a pardon.
So why is President Trump...
That's what you're here to explain it to me. I think what he's doing is he's trying to tell everybody he can pardon anybody he likes, because I thought your description was just perfectly.
You agree with me, Juan?
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
He's
now,
saying
see, I
it's
must have
unfair.
said something
This justice
stupid.
system is unfair to one Donald J. Trump.
That's right.
And maybe, hey, Paul Manafort, don't worry about interfering with
Oh, here we
witnesses.
go.
I can pardon you. I can
All right.
pardon you.
So, Jesse, that was a beautiful tapestry that you just wove for us all there, tying in Mueller and overreaching and witch hunts. Okay, fantastic. And now to the daily briefing. We went to Watersville.
So I
Dana.
think that one of the things he said when President Trump's talking about pardons, he says it has to be done right. And
Yes.
we have a great example of how it was done very, very poorly. And that was Mark Rich on the last day. Approved by Eric Holder, the attorney general at the time, who then, or the pardon attorney at the time under Bill Clinton. That was a bad example. Another thing that people should keep in mind is remember Governor Huckabee. He pardoned many people there in the state, and unfortunately, one of them committed a horrible crime after he got let out. I mean, that's why you do want to be a little bit cautious. I'm excited to think that the NFL players might come and actually have conversation with him, because if he's going to be the disruptor and the force of change, then that's the kind of thing you can do. And then if Colin Kaepernick comes to the White House and he makes amends, then maybe he can play again.
But can you believe the Eagles requested policy time, and then Trump said, sure, let's do it, and then they
I
backed
still
out?
don't understand all of that.
That's pretty bad.
I do
think it's
think
pretty
that Alice
bad.
Johnson
Pick a new team,
deserved
Jesse.
it.
No, I'm sticking with the Birds.
I do hope that Matthew Charles is still on the list.
I hope so,
'Cause
too.
He's actually in jail.
I hope so, too.
Not
That would be
Muhammad Ali. He doesn't
fantastic.
need a pardon because he was never convicted.
Greg, so talk to me about the NFL, players. A real opportunity here to try to, in a unique method in terms of trying to reach across to them to say, okay, we've had our division and divide, but let's sit down together and give me your ideas.
Well, I think it's a practical, bold move, and it's actually saying let's actually try to solve an issue. Instead of intruding on sports, let's work together and seek what you want. It's like on Thanksgiving. Your son comes home from college with new ideas, and he starts lecturing Gramps about the evils of war. Dad says, hey, it's Thanksgiving, not at the table.
Right.
And then later they go to the pub, and they talk about stuff, because that's where you talk about it. What people are learning about Donald Trump is that he likes to solve problems. He doesn't drink. This is what he likes to do.
He's got other things he likes
And this
to
is
do.
what's really important, and that the protesters have to remind themselves. Donald Trump angered everybody because he wasn't a team sport player. He's not an ideologue, which means you could be arguing with him one day, and the next day he's on your side. I mean, look, you see this with tariffs. It's like there are people, the conservatives, that are just mad about tariffs. So it's confounding, but it's also engaging. I don't know if it's I think it should be Black Lives Matters who should take him up on this.
Yep.
If nobody else does, they got to do it. Get Hank Newsom to go to the White House and meet with this guy, this president who wants to talk to you, because that's progress.
It's not only that; it's that President Trump listens, and he's shown he's willing to change his mind.
Yeah,
and that's why. It's not like going. It's not a fool's errand to go and have a meeting with him.
It would be like sticking your hand in a mousetrap for those NFL players to get suckered into that.
That's old school thinking.
Oh my gosh.
That's old school thinking.
But the five, we
Thinking
can
in
have
the
our
past.
special request, Matthew Charles.
Ken went over there and got something done.
Yes.
Who?
Kardashian one.
I didn't know. I was thinking, did the North Korea summit happen already?
There's 3 Kims.
3 Kims, please, in the rankings.
There's a TV series.
Here, number
Respect
one.
number one, Kim. Yes,
This is our Kim right
Three
here.
Kims. Number 1, Kim. Stay right there. Fast as 7 minutes.
And as long as I got my suit and tie, I won't leave it all on the floor tonight.
Welcome back, everybody. Time for the fastest 7 minutes on television. 3 stories, 7 minutes. Let's go. First up, all across America, there's been a crackdown on kids' lemonade stands. But now Country Time is fighting back, helping youngsters who've landed in legal hot water.
This summer, things are going to be different because Country Time is introducing Legal Aid, a crack team ready to straighten out lemonade stand-related permits and fines, making sure no kid is denied their right to a lemonade stand and all the benefits they bestow.
I love that. What about you, Greg?
These children should be arrested.
You saw it.
And then Trump should pardon them. And then Trump should pardon them. They're drug dealers. Sugar is a drug. If you get hooked early, I'm up to 12 quarts. Actually, this is great. Capitalism at its best. The key to a successful lemonade stand: never have any change.
Right.
So charge 50 cents, and then when they have $1 or $5, go. I have to go inside to talk to my mommy and get change. If they're not going to wait for it. They're not going to wait
I have
for
a different thing.
Yeah.
I think you should just charge $1.
Awesome.
No,
because
that's
nobody has change anymore.
No, that's the no. Charge 50. No, the cheaper. You're so not a business
he's
person.
so frustrated.
You charge the cheaper price to get people in, and you're still going to get the dollar. Yeah. So don't charge $1.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you do that, and then you keep it.
I see. Yeah, you're right. I'm terrible with money.
Oh my God.
I like this because corporate America has been subsumed with politics and like kind of doing the wrong thing. And then Country Time is like, okay, we've got a way to do a great PR thing and a good thing for kids.
I just love it.
How does Juan do a lemonade stand? He charges everybody, takes the money, and then gives it out to all the kids that didn't have anything to do with the lemonade stand.
He redistributes the proceeds.
Yeah. So, by the way, since we're all free traders who love lemonade, do you know the root of this deal? That somebody complained about the kid, got the one kid taken down because they saw it as unfair competition.
Right.
So, I understand that, but I also think kids are cute, and this fits the model. But you know what? It's actually other capitalists who are complaining about unfair competition.
And I think, Kimberly, the EU slaps lemonades with about a 13% tariff, which Trump's going to get down to 1 after this G7.
I mean, are you kidding me? It's all about it. Country Time. I love a good lemonade stand. I used to run one, and it was very profitable. And
last year?
Last weekend, a lot of people showed up. In the
that wasn't lemonade.
No, but I don't even know.
What that was.
Anyway,
Besides, the other thing is most of these kids are raising money for a special cause.
I know, so why
like
are we even
the
penalizing
kids last weekend were doing it for Africa. I said, all of Africa?
I never did a special cause.
But
the cause was always me.
But back in the good old days, when people try to rip you off, you try to rip off the Guilfoyles, me and my little brother at the lemonade stand, you would get a vicious beatdown. We kept a nice little bat.
I hope all the kids are listening.
People try to steal. The older kids try to steal from
Next,
you.
what's being called one of the most awkward local news interviews in history is going viral. A couple months back, San Diego news station KUSI sent reporter Dave Scott to cover an inflatable run festival, and well, here's how it went down.
What kind of fun do you think you're going to have today?
Lots of fun.
Repeat after me. Abracadabra, 1, 2, 3.
Abracadabra, 1, 2, 3.
Now it's time to see what we see.
Now it's time to see what we see.
Hello, everybody. Oh, my goodness.
How's everybody doing? My name is Mr. Wacky. Welcome to the inflatable run.
If you watch the whole thing, it's even worse than that, Greg.
Yeah, the worst part was the anchors wouldn't help him.
No.
They would just leave him out there. But the thing is, I really like Mr. Wacky. I mean, I want to know Mr. Wacky.
You should book him on Saturday.
I think so. Saturday at 10 p.m. You mean?
There you go.
Kindred spirits.
I'll have Dean Cain on tonight, by the way.
Kindred spirits. Yeah.
Dana, I mean, I've done these things before. You really got to set it up beforehand. You can't just dive in cold to a bunch of people in a crowd.
Yeah, you have to scope it out. I just love local news.
Yeah?
I always have. I love it. I love to watch it.
And local news sometimes turns out a little awkward, Lon.
Well, can you guys help me? What is Mr. Wacky?
It's inflatable day or something like that.
I know it was an inflatable, like jump up and down moon, but Mr.
Mr. Wacky.
He's just
a
mascot.
Mr. Wacky is a historical inflatable figure.
Historical
inflatable figure.
Historical figure.
Yes. He was one of the first inflatable heroes.
Wait,
he's the reason why we have inflatables.
I thought he worked at a car dealership.
He did.
That's right.
Peter hates
He has terrible posture.
Kimberly, have you ever done an inflatable run in the Hamptons?
Yes. In the dangerous area of the Hamptons. Yeah, I think this is cute. I like local news, but I think you need to give like a Water's World seminar for people to how to do these things that could go terribly wrong. But he's a good sport, and this is super cute. And who doesn't love a little Mr. Wacky?
Mr. Wacky. Speaking of, Kim Jong-un and Donald Trump already spotted in Singapore for their historic summit. Not so fast. It's actually a Kim impersonator, Howard X, and Trump impersonator Dennis Allen already in town causing a ruckus. The phony North Korean dictator says he was detained for hours at an airport in Singapore.
They made the decision to...
Like the moon, break a gold.
Forever and a day, Fan Mail Friday, your questions answered. All right, here's a touchy one. Instagram question, Wellington. I'm not even going to do the number at this point. What have you tweeted that you have later regretted? Let's get it out of the way, Juan, because I know you don't tweet.
No, somebody does it for me, but I don't do it.
You have a Twitter concierge?
But I got to tell you, I am glad I don't, because how many times do you see people engage? I mean, I guess they think it's self-promotional type stuff.
True.
But then it just goes to bad places.
It goes bad, Dana.
Well, the misspellings, you kind of regret
That's your
those.
regret, is the misspelling. That's what's called a Dana regret.
No,
on her deathbed, she'll be going like, I wish I'd spelled better.
Actually, I did tweet something the other day that was actually very funny, and it could have been seen as disparaging to the former president, Obama, but I was just trying to be funny, and I kind of regret it.
Oh.
It was pretty funny, though.
Jesse, regret?
I accidentally retweeted a promo of your show. By accident, meaning I wanted to do my show. And I regretted that. Very much. I still do.
You know what?
I think you beat me that weekend.
You know what's funny is that I believe you. Kimberly?
I don't know. I don't know.
No, you don't have a single regret.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make one up.
I remember one, but I'm not going to bring it up.
Mine?
Yes. Okay.
Oh, what was it?
I'll tell you during the break.
Okay.
Anyway, do you remember the time that I tweeted an insult at Piers Morgan? And I didn't know, I didn't have my TV on. I was home, and I saw something, and I made fun of him, and I didn't realize he was a guest on a FNC show, and he had said that thing. I got in so much trouble. So much trouble. I won't say who the host is, but she doesn't like me.
That doesn't narrow it down.
Yeah, well, she's not here anymore. All right. Kat Smith says, what is one rule growing up that your mom/dad had that you were afraid to break, and you still follow that rule?
I go to bed at 8:30.
You go to bed? That's what it is.
I mean, if I can go to bed by 9:30, I'm happy.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that was I don't know.
That's when all the fun happens.
I do remember I had a curfew of 11, and I worked myself up into a frenzy for so long before I would approach my dad to ask if I could move it to midnight.
Wow.
And I finally got up the guts, and I asked him, and he's like, yeah, sure.
Yes.
Wow.
Let that be a lesson.
I don't think I've ever been to bed at that time. Asleep?
Asleep.
Gee.
Nope.
That's when you're just getting up.
No, I'm just getting started. Okay, I don't know. I'm a night owl, but I'm also up early.
I like to read my books there.
Yeah. All right, Jesse, any rules that you're afraid? You get the texts, you know?
Yeah, I can't. Nothing comes to mind. I mean, I probably disobeyed every rule they put in place for me. So there wasn't, anything that comes to mind.
Still doing it. Right?
Still doing it. Still doing it.
Juan?
I did not break rules.
Well, I mean, lying.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal.
That's the important one.
And it was my mom, and I mean, she had a belt. So that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
But, the funny part also is drugs.
Mm.
The
parents could scare you with that stuff.
Well, my mom could
Didn't work
scare
with me, but hey, worked with my sisters. The rule they had for me was never go down into the basement. So whatever you do, whatever you hear going on in there, don't go down there. I've never been in a basement ever since then.
Well, how come Mr. Sparkles is down there?
Yeah, well, Mr. Sparkles was down there. All right. We have less than a minute. Should I do this?
Yeah.
All right. What do you do to get out of a bad mood? From Macy65. Jesse, what do you do to get out of a bad mood? Keep it clean.
I drink water, I exercise, and I stand up taller.
Oh, well, interesting. That's a Jordan Peterson maneuver.
It is? I don't know who that is. But guy sounds like a smart dude.
Kimberly.
What do you think it is?
Salami.
100%.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh,
Eat salami.
Cut a slice off the stick. Boom.
Dana?
Play with the dog, Jasper.
There you go. What do you think, Juan? What do you get out of bad mood? How do you get out of bad mood?
I do something for somebody else, and oftentimes, not only do something for them, but, talk with them.
That's good. Yeah. That's good. When I'm in a bad mood, I love it.
Oh, you enjoy it?
No, it's like, why get out of a bad mood?
Yeah. It's a permanent state of being.
It's there for a reason.
You
it's
are
like
cranky.
Yes.
He wants to stay in it, much like house arrest. He's just begging for it.
In it.
I dwell in it. All right, special one more thing about our friend and colleague, Charles Krauthammer. That's next.